Brandon Marcello is joining us, CBS Sports, 247 Sports, covering college football. We're going to get into it all here with Brandon. Brandon, good morning.
Brandon.
Good morning, guys. What's up?
Well, you tell us, Brandon. You're the one in the middle of it all. Who's Arkansas going to hire?
One of probably the 20 or so candidates they've interviewed. They've talked to a lot of people, and apparently they're still talking. So
yeah, one of the things I've heard a lot is that Hunter's done a pretty exhaustive search.
Yeah, they've hit on a lot of different candidates with different backgrounds. There isn't necessarily one type of coach they're kind of looking at. People talk about whether it's an offensive-minded coach or defensive-minded coach. He's had a pretty wide net from speaking to a bunch of people in the industry based off of what they've been told or been directly involved in. And that's continuing right now. I know everybody wants to hear that they've zeroed in on their guy and all that, but I will say also that in addition to Hunter Yurachek speaking to a lot of people, he's kept it about as close to the vest as he can as far as what his thinking is. So keep that all in mind. I know everybody's restless, and this has been going on since the end of September, but it's very difficult to make a quote-unquote hire when everybody else is coaching right now. And so unless he's got a target that is a coach who is not coaching right now, it's difficult to see them making a hire, before the end of this regular season. And but that's the other thing. He has spoken to people who aren't coaching right now as well.
We kind of talked about this the last time you were here, that, the suspicion is there's just going to be an avalanche, a sudden avalanche. Something's going to happen, and then everything's going to happen. Is Kiffin the linchpin? I mean, or can people wait long enough for him to decide? Because a lot of these guys like, Morris and Sumrall, I mean, they might want the Ole Miss job if he leaves.
Yeah, that's a great point, Chuck, because if Lane Kiffin does leave Ole Miss, I think that changes things from the standpoint of some of the candidates you might even see involved at Auburn. As you mentioned, John Sumrall is someone that I think Ole Miss would be very interested in going after. I also think Ole Miss would probably give serious consideration to Pete Golding, their current defensive coordinator, who has done a pretty good job there the last couple of years. But yeah, I mean, the avalanche is not going to come until that Saturday, Sunday, Monday after the regular season, after Black Friday, so to speak. And Kiffin is going to be, I've talked to a lot of people about what's going on there, and Kiffin's the only one who really knows what he's going to do, obviously. But a lot of the same kind of process that he's followed, or lack of process, is popping up once again based off of his past decisions. And if you guys want to talk about it, we can talk about it if you want, but I'm not certain what you guys want to get into.
Well, I mean,
we'll get into whatever you want.
Yeah, well, first of all, did his family really fly to Gainesville and LSU?
Yeah, what are they making
Baton Rouge?
up? What's true and what's not?
Yeah, family members did fly to Baton Rouge. They also did fly to Gainesville on Sunday. So they're shopping. They're window shopping, so to speak. They're looking around town and getting the lay of the land, so to speak. Lane Kiffin, as we've seen in the past, he tends to drag these type of things out. 3 years ago, or whenever that was, 3 years ago, Auburn, he was Auburn's number one target. I reported from within hours, not even hours, it was actually within minutes of Auburn firing Brian Harsin, that Lane Kiffin was their guy they're going to go after. And he let that drag on for a long time, much like it did that is doing right now through the end of the season. And at that point, everybody thought it hurt Ole Miss because they lost, I think, 3 straight games in a row, including the Egg Bowl. And the administration said, we learned a lot. It's not really going to happen again. And yet it's happening again right now. They're in a bye week. They don't want this to drag into next week. Look back also when he was the offensive coordinator at Alabama. He took the FAU head coaching job, and he was struggling so much with this job that Nick Saban told him to hit the road before the playoffs. Said, we can't have this. This isn't working out. So this is dragging on. I've talked to people at Ole Miss, directly tied to Ole Miss, and they're hoping to hear something back from him one way or another this week. They want an answer this week. Now, you saw Lane Kiffin yesterday go on the Pat McAfee show saying that there's no ultimatum. And as it's been turned to me, they wouldn't call it an ultimatum, but they've made it pretty clear to him, we need to get this behind us. We need to put this behind us. And, if I had to guess, which, listen, no one's going to be able to report this for certain right now, because if they did, they'd be a psychic, because only Kiffin will know this. But based off of everything they've told him, and with this being a bye week, and then their rivalry game against Mississippi State's next week, I would suspect that he's going to have to give them some type of clearer answer and picture of what's going to be ahead by the end of this week. So hopefully there's some clarity there as far as what his intentions will be.
But Brandon,
but what are they going to do?
Well, yeah, what if he just says, I'm not ready to decide? I mean, what are they going to really say?
They can't do anything. They're not going to. Yeah, that's the thing. And Kiffin knows he holds all the power. You'd be silly to not think that. But it's frustrating to them. There's a lot of people around that program that are getting sick of this stuff.
Oh, I'm sure. I'm sure.
Yeah, that's the thing. I get it.
Hey, I got one more question about Hunter. You talked about how the bulk of the activity is going to come Black Friday weekend, and I'm sure you're right. Will Arkansas, do you think he has in mind Arkansas being an exception to that? That based on some of the people that he has talked to, that maybe Arkansas would like to be a few days ahead of that? Are the people you're talking to indicating that might happen?
No, not necessarily. Okay. I will say that, again, Hunter's kept his intentions pretty close to the vest, based off just the people in the industry I've spoken to. But if he were to make a move before then, it would have to most likely be someone who's out of coaching right now.
Sure,
and that includes guys like Pat Fitzgerald, the former Northwestern coach, who his name, is probably going to come up at a place like Michigan State if that job were to open. So I wonder about his timing and his thinking and everything. And if Arkansas were to want to hire him, and I'm not saying they do, I'm just saying that they might want to try and get ahead of that. But again, there's a wide variety of candidates. And I think anybody who sits there thinking that like maybe they've got three right away right now, it's kind of hard to think that right now, at least among the people, the agents I speak to, because a lot of them are in the dark right now, even with their own candidates, their own reps, the coaches they rep, because they haven't really heard anything in the last few days.
I do 100% believe that Hunter feels like he got himself in a jam the last time around because thought he had, let's say, Kiffin, thought he had Leach, thought he had whomever, and those jobs came open, they took them, and I feel like if they've got a candidate that they really like that's willing to say yes right now, after as they go through this process, they want to beat this domino.
Oh, most definitely, and that's what any athletics director out there, wants to do. I know Hunter's very focused right now on being the chair of the College Football Playoff Committee, which, by the way, personally, I would never do, just because you open yourself up to so much criticism. Everybody's dissecting every single word, and we're seeing that this morning among the media when it comes to all these discussions about teams being ranked, Notre Dame, Miami, et cetera. But, as an AD, you better hope that you've got your own ducks in a row at home, so to speak, while you're doing all this stuff that's out very publicly. Because, obviously everything you do reflects upon not just yourself, but also the University of Arkansas. And, the casual fan out there from a 30,000-foot view doesn't care about who Arkansas is hiring, but they will be maybe a little bit more interested whenever that hire is made, because they'll go, oh, yeah, that's the guy who's in charge of helping pick, and is the face of the College Football Playoff Committee, is going to pick these 12 teams here in another week or two after Arkansas makes their hire. So it's an interesting spot. You don't see this very often with the face of the playoff committee also being in the middle of a coaching search.
Brandon, let me ask you this before we get you out of here. What do you find most interesting about the playoff rankings right now? Or maybe a better question is, like, who are you really watching that's sort of on the bubble? What's going to shake out over the next couple of weeks?
I am interested in Miami because they've had those 2 losses and more recent losses, I should say. I can understand there's a big discussion point about why is Notre Dame ahead of Miami when Miami's got the head-to-head. You know, if I was Hunter Yurachek, when I'm asked that question, all I would say is, well, because Miami's losses are more recent, and they don't look like the same team they did in week 1 that beat Notre Dame. And Notre Dame's been on an 8-game winning streak at this point. So I think it's very simple from that standpoint. I can understand why people want to look at the metrics and all that, but a lot of this simply does come down to your team right now is on a winning streak and is playing better than they did earlier in the season when they had that first week 1 game. And, I think when I looked at the rankings late last night, I didn't have much of an issue with it. I think the committee has done a pretty good job these first couple of weeks with ranking these teams.
Brandon, always great to catch up with you, man. I know you're constantly working the phones and all that. We appreciate you coming on and chopping it up with us, and we'll talk soon.
Thank you, Brandon.
Yeah, thanks, guys. You have no idea. It is crazy out there right now.
Oh, and we're just getting started.
Yeah, we're just now getting into the home stretch.
I can't wait to talk to you in like a month from now. It's going to be all the backstories are going to be incredible. We look forward to it.
If I could lose hair, I would lose more hair, but I get the feeling I might lose my beard. It's going to start falling out.
Yeah, just don't pick
That's
at
when
it
you're
too
in
much.
trouble,
hey,
man.
happy Thanksgiving, and we don't talk to you.
All right, you too, guys.
All right, thanks.
Gosh,
Brandon
that was next
Marcello.
week.